I always get asked, Dakota, is air suspension a tricky bitch? And no, it really isn't. But it can be if you act like a silly goose. So today we're going to dive into this episode of Don't Mess Up Your Car Build, and you're probably wondering where Alex is. Well, the reality of the situation is he probably needs to watch this. Have you seen the F430? First, let's talk about what air suspension options are out there. The most common and the one I would suggest is Airlift Performance. It's expensive, but it works, just like my iPhone, all right? The most common setups you're going to see are 3P and 3H. I've personally ran 3P on multiple cars I've owned and for years, and I've loved that shit, all right? 3P is the pressure-based system, meaning your ride height will all be measured in PSI on a digital readout on your controller or on a phone. In a 3P kit, you're going to get everything you need to air out at gas stations while you're filling up. A tank, lines, management, compressor, struts with bags, and a controller. Now, some parts of the kit are customizable, and I think this is where some people get all tripped up. For example, you can go with different tank sizes. The size of the tank controls exactly how much oxygen you're carrying around. Bigger tank, bigger air. Now, some people like to run two smaller tanks. One big tank, it kind of depends on your vision for your trunk setup. I'd say the most standard and universal setup is a 5-gallon tank. This is going to hold enough for you to air up and down at will, and even play around with it for a bit if you're trying to justify the price to your static buddy. The size of the lines controls how fast you're able to air up and air down. The two sizes you'll see for that are 1/4 inch and 3/8. Most common is 1/4 inch, and that's what I used on my Focus ST and my Mark IV GTI. 3/8 is typically for bigger and heavier cars like a V8 LS400 or other big VIP cars. Technically you can run either, but you don't want your car slamming down or jumping up when you're switching between ride height. If you need help deciding what's best, you can always shoot us a message at martiniworks.com. Another option you'll see is to run 1 or 2 compressors. This is going to decide how fast your tank fills back up. Since air is already expensive, you can definitely get away with just 1 compressor and save some cash, but if you want to be a baller, you can get a dual compressor setup, which is nice so you don't have to listen to the hum of a compressor for too long after airing up. It does get a little bit loud. Now, covering 3H, this is the height-based system. It has all the same options as above, but comes with height sensors. These height sensors are going to give you a more accurate readout to your ride height. Also, it's making the car self-adjusting. What I mean by that is, let's say you have 4 friends as big as me. Sheesh. They all get in your car. On 3P, you'd probably have to add in a few more PSI to the bag so that way you're not rubbing going down the road. With 3H, when your fellow big boys get in the car, it's going to recognize your preset and say, hey, I'm lower than normal, and adjust it to be at your desired ride height automatically. So again, height sensors are another convenience. I really don't think they're needed, and I've never ran them on my personal cars. They're kind of a pain in the ass to install and another failure point that you add to your system at an additional cost. It can be nice, and if you want to go that route, you absolutely can. But I think the most common option for everyone is going to be 3P. Now, Airlift covers a lot of cars and has kits for a bunch of them, but not all of them. Sometimes you have to mix and match pieces, which is another option. For example, Gels is running D2 air struts, but has airlift management. So systems can work with each other, and again, if you need help confirming this stuff, we can get you everything you need and help you through the process, because it can be a little bit tricky and confusing. Let's move on to install. This is what's gonna make or break your air suspension. When you hear about air being unreliable or having issues, 99% of them come from this right here: install. It's not hard, but it is meticulous and needs to be done properly. No shortcuts, just do it right the first time, for Christ's sake. If you can install an aftermarket radio and can install struts, you can install air suspension. I can't remember where I heard that, but it's so damn true. Just follow that, all right? Airlift is the GOAT when it comes to instructions, offering a full book of color photos with a step-by-step guide. I love Airlift's install books. Not to mention there's a countless number of install videos out there too if you're like me and have to read the same sentence 6 times to comprehend what it says. I'm a visual learner. That's why I like the color picture. So find your install video and read through the install book once before going at it and lay out all the tools you'll need to install, and this can be knocked out in a weekend easy peasy. Honestly, the hardest part of it all is deciding how you want your trunk to look with all the components. Let's cover what I'm going to call the danger zone real quick. The danger zone is where your air suspension is most vulnerable. Listen up. Number 1, your airlines, brother. Make sure you route these in a way that they're not kinked, not rubbing against anything, and are routed so that they won't get snagged while driving on our pothole and random item filled road. Once you get them ran, mocked up, zip tied, etc., go in and turn your steering wheel full lock to full lock and make sure nothing is rubbing or pulling. Go take a look that nothing is hanging, dragging. Also make sure that you used an airline cutter when getting your lengths correct. If you don't get a perfectly flush cut on your airline, you will have leaks, I promise you. If you check all of these boxes, congratulations, your airlines are ran. Number 2, bag clearance. I've seen bags pop. It isn't because someone hit a pothole at 80 miles an hour, and it isn't because they stood on the hood of their car for an IG photo. It's because the clearance. In the wake of being so damn excited that your bags are installed, people forget to check that their wheels or their tires aren't hitting the bag. Remember to check it fully inflated and deflated. The bag itself is going to change its shape, and over time, if you're causing friction on it, it's going to wear a hole in it. I've seen braided lines do this, the inner fender well, wheels, and more. Long story short, nothing touches the bag. Do not touch the bag. Yes, I say bag with a hard A. I'm from Wisconsin. Number 3, trunk setup. This one I'm combining a few things because they're all going to be in the vicinity of the junk in the trunk. One is to make sure you use plumber's tape on every fitting, use soapy water with air in the system to check for leaks, and don't over tighten. If there is a leak, this isn't the time to prove you have 99 strength. I would just retape your fitting and try again. Next up is your water trap. This will come with your kit, which I forgot to mention earlier, and well, don't throw it to the side. You'll want this. Naturally, condensation will occur in your tank. The water trap traps the water, and will expel it out under the car. Once you have your air suspension installed for a while, it's worth to check and make sure there's no water that is built up in the tank, even with the water trap. It happens. Purge the tank and move on with your day. Water in the system is not ideal. This ain't a water park, all right? It's not the Wisconsin Dells. The Wisconsin Dells is fun, but now I'm old and I don't like the kids screaming. That's it for the most part. That's what you gotta know. Also, not being able to drive air suspension in the winter is the biggest myth on the planet. Stop saying that. It's not true. I did it just to debunk it. It went great. Airlift is made in Michigan. You don't think they thought about winter? They live in it for 70% of the goddamn year. Also, give us the UP back. I'm not joking about that. I keep hammering it in your head, but if you want air suspension, mod your car at martiniworks.com. We're here to help and can clear up any more questions you have. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Time for me to go read your comments. I hope they're nice to me.